And our word for today on this Monday of the first week in ordinary time, this Monday, January the 13th, our word is refulgence. Refulgence, real quickly, the meaning behind refulgence is radiant. So as we hear this in our first reading today from St. Paul's letter to the Hebrews, chapter 1, keep that in mind, a word that many of us may not be familiar with, but the meaning of it is radiance. Brothers and sisters, again, this is a reading from St. Paul's letter to the Hebrews, chapter 1. Brothers and sisters, in times past, God spoke in partial and various ways to our ancestors through the prophets. In these last days, He has spoken to us through the Son, whom He made heir of all things, and through whom He created the universe, who is the refulgence of His glory, the very imprint of His being, and who sustains all things by His mighty word. When He had accomplished purification from sins, He took His seat at the right hand of the Majesty on high, as far superior to the angels as the name he has inherited is more excellent than theirs. Refulgence, again, the radiance of his glory, who is, speaking of Jesus, the Son of God. St. Paul says to the Hebrews, who is the radiance of his glory, speaking of Jesus, the very imprint of his being, and who sustains all things by his mighty word. But I want to stay right at the beginning, who is the radiance of his glory, the very imprint of his being. You hear so often people say, how can you know God? You know what? Jesus came. He lived among us. He spoke. He taught. He went and he healed and he preached and he suffered. But he had conversations and we're privy to some of those conversations. You want to know God? Know Jesus. If you don't know Jesus, you won't if you don't know Jesus, you won't know God. But if you know Jesus, you know God. Jesus said, "You want to know the Father? Know me. I am the Father and one," he said to Philip when asked that very question. Just show us the Father and we'll be satisfied. He said, "Have you been with me this long and you still don't know? I and the Father am one. When you see me, you see the Father. When you hear me, you see the Father." Everything that I am is an absolute perfect reflection of God. I am God, and we are not different. There is not some old man living in heaven who is angry all the time, and Jesus is there appeasing him. That's ridiculous. It's so horrible that that has been visited upon the people of God, and it is shameful that that is the picture that has been painted. That is not our God. Our God is Jesus. God the Father is the one who sent Jesus. You want to talk about generosity? One is generous, the other is generous, the other is generous. None of them are sitting there having to be held back from their anger. They are all in love with us, looking, giving every opportunity for us to enter into the glory of God, even going so far as the Son coming and laying down his life as a gift back to the Father, that we might be presented to the Father as well. In his name, by his sacrifice, and as a part of his radiance and his glory. Again, in times past, God spoke in partial and various ways to our ancestors through the prophets. In these last days, he spoke to us through the Son, whom he made heir of all things, and through whom he created the universe, who is the radiance of his glory, the very imprint of his being. When you have seen the Son, you have seen the Father. And now that we have the Holy Spirit living within us, we also can radiate that glory. We are also an imprint of the being of God by his own will, by his own desire, out of love for us. Let us do that well. Let us live out a life that is worthy of this high calling. But let us understand that we are here simply because God desires for us to be here. And he has made every way possible for us to be in right relationship with him, especially through sending his son Jesus, the very radiance of his glory, the very imprint of his being. Refulgence, our word for today.